Hey, Sunday night soul timers. I hope that you're doing well. So, last week we really dove into understanding the truth of who you are through going backwards, through connecting to a younger version of yourself, and really having a soul remembrance, if you will. We're most connected to our true soul self when we first enter into this world. And then what happens we get influenced by parents, programming, society. It's all perfect in design. There's nothing wrong because we're all meant to have an experience with the ego, but then we start really stepping into that experience, if you will, by starting to identify the self as this or that or this other thing. And we put on all these layers and masks that hide our true nature. And so part of the awakening process is to, strip those layers back to having a remembrance of the soul within, the divine I am within. And you're like, okay, why are we doing all this? Just want 10 minutes in the day to like have some me time, right? But this is the key. The key to you identifying more as the soul than the human is inextricably interlinked with your happiness, with your peace, with your beingness, with all those things you truly want, those desires you want, those intentions you want. Those are really like they're coming from your soul, and they're really reflective of you wanting to live as the soul you are. Okay. So if it's a new job you really want, well, it's probably something that feeds your soul more that you're not receiving now. If you want more abundance, I mean, our divine law, true nature is abundance. So that's just you like, I wanting to be the soul, because if I'm the soul, I can't deny abundance. It's like the law of nature. If you're wanting love, if you're wanting, a partnership, or a relationship, again, like when you're in your true soul and essence, love is your constant. So all those wants, all those desires, every single intention, if you wrote intentions for this year and you're working towards them, they are all just wanting to live as the soul within in some way, shape, or form. So as we start to acknowledge and explore the truth of who you really are beyond the masks and layers, you start to become those intentions. So many times you manifest the truth of who you really are and also who you believe yourself to be. So if you're living in the illusion that you're a limited being, if you're believing that fear is real, that this is more real than the truth of your heart, then you will keep having the experience of that. Hope I'm making sense. So that's why we do this work. So do it. So last week we did more around, an exercise, because we're going to spend the month on this, of connecting to the child within, right? And remembering who you are as a kid, because that's the best place to look for clues to a remembrance, to an understanding of the truth of your own divinity. What I want to talk this week is values. And I don't mean, and I know, it's mostly I've got female leaders on here watching this. You're mostly on the email list. I'm not talking values in the way that they've been used in corporate. And I used to be a part of this conversation in a professional way. And I really loved it because I was really excited. This goes a few years back when I thought like, oh, wow, companies are finally going to take the values off the wall and do something with them. And they did. There was a lot of progress, and there still is. I think where it fell short and where I got a little dissatisfied and turned off by it was the lack of acknowledgement of that every human being is individual. So to think that every leader in a company can or should try to embody like one set of values is just, to me, a bit ridiculous, because we're all unique individuals with our own soul purpose, therefore our own unique set of values and things that we want to live by. And what it was doing is making people have to be further fragmented, right? I am this person, so I have these family values. I have whatever I'm living as a woman in this world, but at work, I got to take on these values. And what I want to look for is more integration. I want us all to each be able to live as our true whole self. Rather than having to, divide ourselves into a million little pieces all the time. So it's that from that place that I come from tonight. And we're going to get started on this and we'll continue it next week as well. And when I say values, I really, not belief or ideology, like the values that reflect the highest truth of who you really are. My intention for you is to just seek an understanding of that this week, or a clarification of that. Even if you think you've done values work before, I want you to scratch all that and start over and seek to remember who you really are, but also who you want to be. So that's why the topic is values, inspirational and aspirational. So to do this, I want to invite you, there's going to be 5 steps. And the first is just to get quiet. Get quiet. Whether you meditate or not, I want you to attempt to meditate for 5 to 10 minutes, close eyes, get quiet. And then step 2, once you're in that quiet space, I want you to both invite in your higher self. And I want to invite you for this 5-10 minutes to silently and in your mind say to yourself the Sanskrit mantra of Soham. Soham. So on each inhale, you'll say so. And on the exhale, you'll say hum. And you'll say that silently in your mind to yourself for the 5-10 minutes. That's some very powerful Sanskrit words to invoke the divine I am presence within you. And so do that for however long you feel called. Longer than 10 minutes, great. Okay, but at least 5 or 10. And then when you come out of that, you have, I promise you, connected to some part of your deeper I am soul presence. And so for the third step, what I want you to start with is 2 and only 2. I call them inspirational values, the best parts of you and who you are, who you truly know yourself to be. A great way to consider this is like, think about someone that really unconditionally loves you. I don't mean bullshit love. I mean like unconditionally loves you. It's rare. If you have I hope you have one person in your life, someone who truly sees you for who you are, and just reflect back to any time of anything that they reflected to you about you that, for me, I get embarrassed. But like of what that person has said, maybe it's your mom, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's your partner, a good friend, but or it just might have come at a time like God speaks through others that you just really, you're like, yeah, that's who I am. It actually makes me a little uncomfortable. A friend was telling me a week ago about like my heart, and I was like, I'm so happy I'm received that way. I won't even say it. And I do so much kind of sharing stuff publicly, but I was so like embarrassed in the best possible way. Okay. But, and she's just lovely that she said that to me. But, so I want to invite you to do that and just come up with like the 2 values that really inspirational, because they inspire others. That's why this was like given back to you, and just best guess, and just again, values that really you feel good about, that like make you excited about who you are, make you blush a little, but make you feel excited about who you are, and just best guess. Okay. So write those down. And then step 4, aspirational values. So might not be who you are today, but who you really want to be. North Star here. Who you really want to be. We're always growing and evolving. I know years ago when I was, coming out of, active addiction, I was like, I just want to be a good person, because I didn't feel like one for a really long time, and that's kind of a generic, but like, it's an example, crystallizing that into values. So aspirationally, like, who do you want to be from a value standpoint? And a good way to do this, like look at, famous person or person in history, a person you admire in your life. So anyone like you just hold up here, what are the values they are embodying that you're like, I want that for myself, and write those 2 down. And then 5th step is just get curious and reflect about it with a week. Just sit with it for a week. That's it. Because we're going to do more with this. So 1, get quiet, the meditate. Number 2, the Sanskrit, Soham, say that mantra to get this like what needs to come forward to come forward. Number 3, 2, inspirational values, more or less who you are today, like who you are at your core that are just, you're really proud of, you feel really good about. Then 2, aspirational, who you desire to be from a values standpoint. So not adjectives, values. It could be both, but you know, but make sure it's like in the realm of the value. A value can be an adjective, I'm meaning. And then reflect and get curious for a week, and we'll do more and sit with it. I hope you'll do this work. Regardless, wishing you a beautiful week ahead. Bye for now.